Hello, and welcome to our tutorial video for how to add and manage terminals in Transport Pro. A terminal in Transport Pro refers to an outside 1099 office, agent, or group that needs to be paid out for commissions. Please note that this is not really a commissions tool for internal W-2 employees, such as dispatchers or carrier reps. Or in other words, your in-house salespeople. Terminals can also simply be a great way to group loads or information into pods, and then you can use the terminal filter on several of the reports throughout the system, depending on what you want to do or how you might like to review the data for your business. This video will cover a few different scenarios. When your Transport Pro installation is initially created, your company is set up as a terminal. You'll have to add any additional terminals you need to the system. So let's add a new terminal. Go to Administration, Manage Terminals, Add Terminal. This is what the entry screen looks like, and let's run through an explanation of fields. The yellow fields are required. Terminal code. Enter a code for the terminal. The code can be whatever you want it to be, though we recommend keeping it to 5 characters or less. Terminal type. Tag the type of terminal this is. This does not affect or drive anything. It simply lives on this record for your internal informational purposes. Status. Mark the terminal as either active or inactive. If you want to use this terminal and see it in the drop-down menus throughout the system, then it must be active. You can inactivate the record at any time. Title. Give the terminal a name or title. This is the description that will show for you in the drop-down menus throughout the system. Enter the full address for this terminal. Note, if you enter the zip code first, then the city and state will auto-populate. Office phone number. Enter the office phone number for the terminal. The office phone number will show up on all of the rate and driver confirmations. If a system user assigned to a specific terminal has a phone number on their user account in Transport Pro, then this number will serve as a backup number. Emergency phone number. If you enter an emergency phone number here, which is not required, then it will show up on the driver and rate confirmations as the emergency phone number. Email. Enter the email for this terminal. Escalation email. This email ties to the escalation issue track and trace tool in the system. When an operations user escalates an issue, this email will receive a notification. Operations users should learn about this escalation tool during dispatch training. Date opened. Enter the date that the terminal opened for business. Date closed. Enter the date that the terminal closed for business, if applicable. You would likely only need to note this if you were inactivating the terminal. Print 1099. By default, this box is checked. Assuming you will be paying this terminal for commissions, then leave it checked. As you process settlements for this terminal, that settlements data will feed Transport Pro's 1099 report. Note, Transport Pro doesn't actually print the 1099 for you, but the report provides the data you need to do your 1099s. Commission program. You have 2 options here: split commission and simple commission. While the split commission option is more common, we'll look at examples for both options so you can make the correct selection for your business. Split commission. If you want to split up the freight bill amount, then you'll use this option. When this option is selected from the drop-down menu, 4 different percentage fields become available. Let's walk through examples using all 4 of these fields. System Truck Commission. This field is applicable to asset-based companies. If this terminal dispatches a truck that is assigned to another terminal or a different terminal, then the agent will receive their commissions for the load based on this System Truck Commission. Terminal Truck Commission. This field is also applicable to asset-based companies. If this terminal dispatches a truck that is assigned to their terminal or this terminal, then the agent will receive their commission for the load based on this Terminal Truck Commission. Note, the reason behind having the option for both system and terminal commissions is because you might like to say, if an agent brings a truck of their own or brings new business to the table, then we'll pay the agent a higher percentage than if he were to use another terminal's truck or a company truck. But again, it may be the same. It's really up to you based on how you operate your business. BC Split Rate. This field is for brokerage companies. When calculating this percentage, the formula is how much you billed versus how much you paid out. So let's say you wish to give this agent or terminal 60% of the profit on loads. You would enter 60 in this field. For example, if you have a load making a profit of $500, then the system would pay the agent $300 for the load based on this 60% split rate. BC Cap Rate. This field is for brokerage companies. You can put any cap amount on an agent. For example, let's say you wish to give the agent the ability to break even on loads. Then you would enter 100 in this field. Or you may wish to penalize the agent for paying over a certain amount. So let's say you have a load being billed at $1,000, and the agent has a cap rate entered here as 85%. That means that the agent can pay up to 85% for the load, or $850, before penalty kicks in. So if this agent decides to pay a carrier, say 90% or $900 for the load, with an 85% cap rate, then the system will automatically charge that 5% of the $1,000 back to the agent, and that deduction would show up on the terminal's settlement. Now let's take a look at the simple commission option. This type of commission serves as a house commission. In other words, this is the percentage that the house makes regardless of cost. For example, let's say you enter 10% in this field. If you bill a load for $1,000, then the house will make $100 no matter what before paying commission to the agent or the terminal. BC Minimum Amount. This is the minimum gross profit that the house will make, and it should be entered here as a dollar amount. Any losses will be charged to the agent. Now, you may or may not use this option depending on how you run your business, but it's here if you need it. Calculate commission. If you want the system to calculate commissions for this terminal, check this box. Use owner-operator contractual rate. This option is here for asset-based companies. If you want this agent's commission to be based on the owner's contractual rate, then check this box. For example, let's say that this agent dispatches an owner who has a contractual rate set at 75%. But the agent decides to dispatch the owner on a load at 78% instead. Checking this box would calculate this terminal's commission based on that contractual 75% and not the 78%. Parent terminal. You will see any terminals that have been added to the system in this drop-down menu. The system allows you to set up parent-child relationships between terminals, if that's applicable to you. This option is often used in the case that a user needs to be assigned or have access to information for more than one terminal, but not all terminals. So let's say I set up 2 terminals in Transport Pro and call them Terminal A and Terminal B. And let's say I go and open up the profile for Terminal B, and then I select Terminal A here as the parent terminal. This means that any system user that I assign to Terminal A will have access to information for both Terminal A and B. If I assign a user to just Terminal B, or the child terminal, in other words, then the user will only see Terminal B's information. Locking down this visibility is also dependent upon enforcing terminal data restrictions on the individual user account, which will be shown in the next step. So looking at our list of terminals here, you can see, for example, that Terminal RFT is under Terminal ADT. So in this case, ADT is the parent terminal of RFT. As you set up the terminal relationships, you'll see that the child terminals are indented with a dash under the parent terminal. Of course, you can make edits or changes at any time as needed. Preferred settlement day. You may wish to select a preferred settlement day for this terminal if you run daily settlements. So say, for example, you run settlements for this terminal every Thursday. Then you could select Thursday here. Share driver info with other terminals. By default, this option is set to no. You can change it to yes if you want. If you say yes here, then when an agent logs into Transport Pro, they'll be able to see other drivers' information, meaning drivers assigned to other terminals, such as their phone numbers on the main freight operations dashboard. Again, this is also dependent upon enforcing terminal data restrictions, which we will cover in the next section. Pay gross reduction. This option is here in the case that you wish to take an amount off the top before calculating commissions for this terminal. You can enter this amount as either a flat rate or a percentage. Let's say, for example, that you have a $1,000 load and you enter 2% here. Then the system will calculate the commission for this terminal after taking 2% off the top, or in other words, we'll calculate the commission for this terminal based on $980 instead of that $1,000 in this particular example. Now, let's take a look at the bottom half of the form, which is the billing and payment information for the terminal. Let's run through an explanation of fields here. Again, the yellow fields are required. So the first thing you're going to see here in this section is a link to copy the information from above. If you click this link, then the name, address, phone number, and email will carry over from the top half of the form, saving you a bit of data entry. Pay bill name. This is the name for the terminal that will show up in the settlement system when you go to pay this terminal. Enter the full address for this terminal. If you are entering it here, you can enter the zip code first and the city and state will populate. Enter the phone number, alternate phone number. You can enter an alternate or secondary number for this terminal if that's applicable. Email. So this is the settlements email for this terminal. In other words, later on when you go to process settlements for this terminal, if you want the system to email the statement to the agent, then you must make sure you have a valid email entered here. Settlement receipt. If you want the system to automatically email out the settlement statements to this terminal when you process settlements for them, then you must check the email option here, and again, make sure you have a valid email entered in the email field above. Social Security number or federal ID. Enter the Social Security number or federal ID for this terminal. This is required. Once all of the information has been entered, everything looks correct, click Save Record. Once you have all of your terminals set up in the system, you can then assign individual system users to the appropriate terminals and enforce data restrictions if you need to do that. So to do this, you're going to navigate to the user's profile by going to Administration, Manage System Users, Search System Users. Open up the user's profile, and you're going to see 3 fields here applicable to terminal permissions. We see Primary Terminal, Terminal Visibility, and Enforce Terminal Data Restrictions. So let's run through an explanation of these options or fields here on the user record. Primary Terminal. You can assign this user to a primary terminal if you want. This would be the user's main terminal, meaning when this user goes to add a load to the system, the terminal on the load will simply default to that user's primary terminal. Be aware that the primary terminal will also be defaulted in the terminal filter on several of the reports for this user. Terminal visibility. This option is here in the case that this user needs to be able to see information assigned to other specific terminals. You can select multiple terminals by holding down the Control key on your keyboard and clicking the desired terminals. Enforce terminal data restrictions. If you only want this user to see and access the information in the system assigned to their primary terminal, as well as any other terminals you may have granted visibility for, then you'll check this box. Otherwise, if you leave this box unchecked, then the user will be able to see everything assigned to all terminals in the system, or in other words, won't be tied down to any data restrictions. And lastly, let's take a look at how you can search for and edit terminal information in the system. So once you've added a terminal to Transport Pro, you can easily run a search to review the information or make edits as needed. To search for a terminal, go to Administration, Manage Terminals, Search Terminals. Use any of the search filters as desired, or you can just click Search to bring up a list of all terminals in the system. From here, you can click on the terminal name to pull up the profile for that specific terminal. You can simply review the information or make any edits as needed. And that covers how to add and manage terminals in Transport Pro. If you have any questions about adding or managing terminals, please contact our support team at support@transportpro.net. Thank you for watching this video.